Kings of Courage. I am excited to share with you the newly upgraded way on the process that you will be going through as you overcome pornography addiction or any sex related addiction. And technically, it works to overcome any addiction or any bad habit, no matter what it is. It's called, and feel free to laugh at the name of it, it's called the 3Ds to overcome porn addiction. All right, the 3Ds to overcome porn addiction. Yes, feel free to snicker, feel free to laugh. It was kind of intentional and then turned out to be really awesome. And you'll see why, because it's extremely fitting. Here we go. Let me do a screen share here. Okay, the 3Ds to overcome porn addiction: detect, define, download. Detect, define, and download. 3Ds to overcome porn addiction. So let's start with step number one, which is detect. So what is it that you are detecting? You are essentially becoming a detective of your own life. Every single part of your subconscious mind, your subconscious identity that you are currently unaware of. Some parts you may already be aware of. Like you are already aware of some of them, but a lot of them, in fact, a grand majority, you are not aware yet. And so ultimately detecting, you are finding the destructive patterns that make up your identity. You are finding the destructive patterns that make up your identity. And essentially, I call this the illuminating your darkness method. And darkness, in two terms, there are two meanings. So, one, it is currently hidden in the darkness from yourself, even though it's a part of who you are and has likely been a part of who you are for years, even decades. But you just don't happen to have the conscious awareness of this part of your identity. And by identity, I mean patterns. So, patterns, we have patterns of thought, we have emotional patterns, we have behavioral patterns, where basically human beings are walking, talking patterns. And about 95% of who we are, by the time we're 25 years old, that is a set of pre programmed subconscious patterns, essentially. And so, but they don't have to be set in stone. The patterns that are serving us, we can know what those are and make them stronger. And the patterns that are not serving us, the patterns that are holding us back, that are disempowering us, the patterns that lead to a domino effect into relapse, those are the patterns that you are going to become so acutely aware of. And it is critically important because there are many patterns that lead into a domino effect of relapse. It's not just you automatically relapse. It's not just an urge shows up and you relapse. There's a domino effect that leads to all of it. And every domino, so to speak, is a pattern. And you are going to learn what those are. Because if you are not aware, then the domino effect that keeps leading to relapse will ultimately continue to happen. And I know that's not what you want. That's why you're here right now, right? And so it's ultimately becoming the detective of your own self, your own identity. So who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in your life? How do you want to be when you are alone? How do you want to be when you're with other people? How do you want to start your day? What do you want your emotional reactions to be to certain things in your life? Where do you want your focus to be? Where do you want your ability to be a healthy risk taker to be? How deeply do you want the ability to be able to trust yourself? And so essentially, it's detecting the patterns that you know that you need to get rid of, but you don't know that you need to get rid of them if you don't even know that they exist first. And so we are going to become so deeply aware of what these are. And it's not just what they are, it is why they are. Why did that self destructive pattern show up in the first place? That limiting belief, that self sabotaging self talk that you have to yourself that creates an internal war zone within you based on your own thoughts. And so those don't just show up willy-nilly out of nowhere. There is a reason, and that reason points to some thing in your past where there is an unresolved emotional wound. When we have unresolved emotional wounds, it shows up in our life as unhealthy patterns. And there are many of them, and I mean many. And there have been men who have been on that self-awareness path for years, and I mean years, going to therapy for years, learning incredible, amazing things about themselves that they never knew, and then coming here and learning that there was so much that they didn't know that they realized was so important to know. So it's detecting what these things are. It is critically important. And that's why I created the Illuminating Your Darkness method. Because when you don't know what these things are, these different patterns, thought patterns, emotional patterns, behavioral patterns, then you begin to try to fix the wrong thing. And fixing the wrong thing looks like this. Oh, if I'm just disciplined enough, and if I just get up early enough, and if I just go to the gym 6 days a week, and if I just keep busy with this, and if I just keep disciplined with that, and if I just stay super busy with all of these things that give me a little bit of accomplishment throughout the day, that will never actually solve the problem. And it's because you didn't actually detect the right thing that needs to be changed. And granted, those other things that I listed are good, awesome, wonderful. You know, it's great to be productive and great to have physical exercise and take good care of yourself and get up and be productive. That is a part of the picture, but it is only a small part of the picture, and the most important part is missing. And so here's where you detect what those patterns are, because if you do not, then they will ultimately continue to domino affect you. The patterns will domino affect each other into another relapse. So that's what we have there for the detect, the first D and the 3 Ds. The second one is define. So define who you want to be. These are going to be new patterns. So for every old pattern or current pattern that you have right now that has been a pattern for a long time, that's holding you back, that's limiting you, that domino affects you into relapse. Once you detect what those are in step 1, step 2 is defining for yourself what you would rather have each new pattern be. Defining for yourself what you would rather have each new pattern be. You've already done that with a large pattern, the pattern of watching pornography. You've already defined for yourself that you do not want to be a man whose identity is someone who watches pornography and all of the things that come along with it, right? The guilt, the shame, sometimes the self-isolation, sometimes there's so many things that go along with it, right? You've already defined for yourself that you don't want to be that man, yet you continue to show up as that man, even though you've defined that you don't want that. And so that's a large example of one major pattern that is super obvious, but all of those other patterns that domino effect into that, they're going to redefine what you want the new pattern to look like, the new pattern of thought, the emotional response, the behavior, the choices, all of that. You are going to define on such a fine scale level of who you want to be, the man you want to be in this world, for you, for your family, for your community, right? All of it. And so just because, and that kind of brings us to step 3, because just because you define who you want to be and what you want to be and how you want to show up does not mean that you automatically begin to show up in that way, right? Because if it meant that means you would already be showing up in that way, and you're not. And since you're not, you are seeking on how you can show up in the way that you want to be, right? And that's why I have created the ironclad identity technique, where the identity that you defined for yourself You are trustworthy. You are unbreakable. You are reliable. You are a protector. You are authentic. You are fill in the blank with who you want to be. I'm not the one to ever choose or decide what that is. You are the only one who chooses that. You define it for yourself. And when we look up the definition of ironclad, it says impossible to weaken. That's right, impossible to weaken. And what happens when you don't define who you want to be? If the only thing you do is say that you know who you don't want to be, but you don't actually define who you want to be, what's going to happen? Well, life is going to willy-nilly define it for you. And it might be something that you don't like, right? That's probably how you got to where you are today. Life kind of just willy-nilly threw things at you, and you didn't have much conscious awareness of what was going on. So you were kind of along for the ride and ended up exactly where you are now. So it's time to put that to an end so that you can be the king of your own life, right? You can be the ruler of your own life, right? It's not pornography ruling your life for you. It's not living by the emotion of shame ruling your life for you. It is you ruling your own life, how you want to be, but you have to define what that is. And so the ironclad identity technique that I've created for you walks you through how to do that. And another thing that can happen when you don't do this part is it's really common. It's extremely common, especially in 12-step programs where someone will no longer have a certain addiction in their life, say pornography or alcohol or whatever it may be. They switch their source of addiction. They switch their source of dopamine, and they are still equally addicted to something, but they may have switched the thing that they are addicted to. This is called dopamine switching or addiction switching. And it's kind of like playing whack-a-mole with things that are addictive. And when you don't break that domino effect that leads to relapse, even if you put one addiction behind you and you don't follow the correct steps, 100% of the time it will get replaced by another addiction, or you will ultimately fall back to the same old addiction. And the addiction was never actually really addressed. And so I'm going a little bit more deeper into that, but it's really important to understand that. And so it's that defining who you want to be part cannot be skipped at all. And that brings us down to our third and final step, which is download. So we have detect, define, download. And download, that's essentially arriving at the new you, arriving at the new you. That's downloading the new patterns into your subconscious mind, right? Because just because you have defined who you want to be, what you want to be, how you want to show up in this world, in your life, it doesn't mean you automatically show up that way. You only begin to automatically show up that way when you have downloaded it, into your subconscious mind. And that's why I have created the Walking into Your Kinghood strategy. Because you got to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk, right? And why do I call it kinghood? Well, a king is a ruler of his own life. No one is deciding it for him. So you are the ruler of your own life. Addiction does not decide for you. Someone else does not decide for you. You decide. And the second reason is because the purpose of a king is to be of service to others. The purpose of a king is to be of service to others. We as human beings, when we are at our best, we are always of service to others, and it feels amazing and it feels good and it energizes us. And it allows us to feel connected to a deep and very important part of who we are. And so the word king there, kinghood, it's two meanings. One, you are in charge of your own life. Addiction does not control you any longer. And two, when you are the best version of yourself, you will automatically and effortlessly be super compelled to want to be of service to others. And there are a million trillion different ways that that could look like. And you will find what that is for you. And perhaps you already have an idea of that. And so downloading this, it's downloading your new identity using specific subconscious strategies. Downloading your new identity that you define for yourself by using subconscious strategies. And there you have it. The 3Ds to overcome porn addiction: detect, define, download. They technically work for any addiction, and they work for any bad habit. Any part of your identity, no matter what it is, that you don't want to be there, this works for all and any of that, no matter who you are. It works. It takes time. It's a simple process that takes time. Every process takes time. Every process has steps. Every process yields a result. This process gets you the result that you are looking for, and you define what that is. No one else defines it, only you. You learn these steps, you apply these steps, you get your result. It's a formula. It works every time. All right, I'll see you on the inside.